can change the hotkeys anytime.
Okay, so today I wanted to talk to everyone about. I've heard over the years a number of times people say, what do I start my kid on? What do I treat my kid with? What kind of things are we looking at? I'm more worried about the treatments than I am the disease. I just don't know if this is going to hurt my kid or not. And I thought, what better day to do that than on infusion day? We're here for an infusion in the hospital, and this is a great time to shoot a video on treatments. So that's what this talk will be about. As always, you can like and subscribe, and if you have a comment or something that worked good for you, please put it in the comments down below. I'd love to keep this going as a rolling conversation for all parents of kids with these diseases. The first thing I'm going to refer you to, and I'm just going to show you my screen so you can see what I'm shooting for. You can see I've been here before. PANDAS Physician Network Flowchart. It's not going to be in your browser, of course, but you can type that in. And then if you click on it, this gives you the diagnostic flowchart, which is really cool. Someone's been here before, and this is a group of PANDAS physicians that have put together, to the best of their abilities, flowcharts to help you discern whether or not your kid does or does not have PANDAS or PANS. And also define, as we can see down here, the mild case in the blue, moderate case in the orange, and severe extreme cases in the red. That being said, my personal experience is definitely in the red case. Parker's sitting next to me, and this has been since 2017. We're in 2021, so we're over 4 years of doing treatments and pursuing his restoration. So we're just about all the way there. We're just got a little things to clean up. And we're still chasing it. Thankfully, most kids are not as sick as Parker. Most kids recover a lot faster than Parker. And most kids don't fall as far away as Parker did. But I am an adamant believer in treating kids early and aggressively as possible. The thing that I see a lot of parents do is they sit on their thumbs. They're unsure about treatments. They don't want to pursue treatment. And there's a couple different categories. One is parents where they can't get treatment and they can't get a doctor to approve it. They can't move the ball down the field that way. And there's another category where parents just become stuck. They're afraid of treatment. They're kind of in denial about what their kid has. Maybe there's division in the marriage or the partnership between the two parents and what they should do next. And the kid languishes there. I'm a huge fan of treating the kid as quickly and as aggressively as you can and following the progression of care to get what they need. In the beginning, we quickly went on antibiotics and we did a oral prednisone run and we did NSAIDs around the clock to help reduce inflammation in his body overall. Really no effect. All right, so then we went to IVIG. We were denied insurance on IVIG, and we did a GoFundMe page, and friends and family chipped in, and we passed the hat, and we got some funds together, and we started IVIG while we petitioned the insurance company 5 times. And it was 3 more months before we got approval. It was a huge amount of paperwork to argue that. It was very a persistent application. A huge amount of credit goes to my wife who championed that whole thing. And if there is a champion of this story, it is my wife. She made Parker's success possible. No question about it. When you have a kid that comes unraveled as quickly as Parker did and falls away as far as he did, it's all hands on deck. It's every drastic action you can think of. Most parents don't have a kid that goes that far. So you're going to have to take what I say in proportion to my personal experience, and yours is going to be different. Hopefully your kid doesn't go as far. Some of you, I'm talking to my choir here. This is, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So take that in proportion. Anyways, back to the flow chart. We can see that getting old sucks. There's a flow chart. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but, and this is something that you can take and go over with your doctor. If you have a doctor who doesn't know what to do next, maybe this would be a great resource. This is put on the web by PANDAS Physicians Network. So It's something that should be useful and will help in diagnosis. It's not ironclad. There is a certain amount of artwork to this and trying to figure out what we have on our hands or not. There's a lot of diagnostics that go into eliminating other conditions to make sure that what you're left with is PANS or PANDAS. And then the second thing I wanted to share, if I open a new tab, JCAP PANDAS protocol. You can type that in on your browser, pop it up. Here it is. Yeah, again, PANDAS Physicians Network is a great resource where they have that. The Journal of Child and Adolescent Psychopharmacology. Okay, they put together the treatment guidelines for kids with PANS and PANDAS. And here's the consensus statement. Here's treatment and prevention of infections. Here's use of immunomodulatory therapies. I almost screwed up that word. That's a big one. And then the psychiatric and behavioral interventions. If your kid really takes a dive completely where they're in non-functional status, you're going to be using all of these most likely to one degree or another, or maybe you should. I'll go ahead and open up the chapter on use of immunomodulatory therapies. And if you scroll down, here's the abstract, the introduction. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. Yes, it's written in boring medical terms, but this is important for your child's treatment. And I'll say this is an important point. Nobody is going to pursue your child's restoration except you. Remember that, okay? Nobody's going to do this except for you. There is no social worker, there's no welfare worker, there's no care coordinator. You are the care coordinator, you are the social worker, you are the welfare worker. You are the person who has to coordinate this. And I know that may feel overwhelming to a lot of parents who are already overwhelmed at the dysfunction of their kid, and they have to run a house, and they have to make a living, and they have to everything else that you do as a parent other kids. This is a jacked up disease, and it exacts a very heavy toll on families. I'm not denying that. I can speak to that personally. What I know got us through it was a huge amount of credit to my wife. I wish all of you had a Natalie. If all of you had a Natalie, you'd be far ahead of where you are, I guarantee you. She's an absolute champion, and she rose like an Olympic medal winner to make this happen. And I owe all of our sons' success to her. But I want to hopefully inspire each of you that you can rise and be some form of that yourself. And you're always capable of more than what you believe you are. That's certainly true in our case. We've walked a long road and come a long ways, and we've been stretched and pulled way beyond what we expected our limitations were, and we're coming out the other side. And I hope that you use that for inspiration so that you can attain that same success. Couple of points I wanted to touch on. Early and aggressive treatment, we already discussed that. My thought, because of my experience, and I've said it before, but I'm going to repeat it again because I've gotten a lot of messages from parents over the years where they say, I'm so concerned about IVIG, I just don't know what's in there, I don't know how it's going to affect my kid. Yeah, I know, nobody does. But if you're at the stage where that's the next treatment, don't wait. Move on to the next thing. We've done, like I said in the beginning, long-term antibiotics, NSAIDs, oral steroids, IVIG. He's getting an IVIG right now still. Most kids don't need that many, but I'm just saying, we do this and have done this for 4 years now. Long time. And he's done plasmapheresis and rituximab, and he's had rituximab every 6 months or so. IVIG with solumedrol, which is steroids, monthly. He's had a lot of infusions. I don't know the exact number. It's probably north of 60, maybe 70s, somewhere in there. It's a whole lot. It's been a load. but he is a very, very extreme case. I got a message from a mother, and this is an important point, and the reason that really stirred me to make this video. She sent a message to both Natalie and I saying, my daughter's, very dysfunctional, and I appealed to the insurance company. They said no, and I just don't know what to do. Natalie answered her in a similar tone as I did, and I don't know what Natalie specifically wrote, but I remember what I wrote. And I said, I want you to go in a corner and have yourself a good long cry and go ahead and get that all the way out. Then I want you to get up and go in the bathroom. I want you to splash cold water in your face, put on your favorite lipstick if you got some, look yourself in the mirror and say, I can do this. Because nobody is going to care for your kid but you. So whatever you have to do, you need to do what you need to do to rise. And any no that you get from maybe a new physician or maybe from an insurance company is not no forever. It's just no right now. And tomorrow is a new day. And you need to adopt that mentality, because in the course of our journey, Natalie and I have experienced many, many, many no's. Many no's. And we never took it as a final answer. We just went, well, crap, moving on to the next thing. And we kept moving. And that's what brought us here. If we had stopped at the word no, anytime that we got the word no, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Parker wouldn't be in high school, and we wouldn't be getting, whatever number infusion this is, and progressing his treatment and his care to restore him to everything he can be, which is considerable. So don't be dissuaded by the no's or the haters or people that turn you away. Having said that, there is a small contingent in this community that is riding on this disease for illegitimate reasons. They shouldn't be here. This is a clinically diagnosed disease for the most part, and that makes it a little vague and fuzzy. And some people are attracted to that because it allows them to slide in unqualified, so to speak. Please be sure, and we went through exhaustive efforts to make sure we were not dealing with something else. Not all cases are as clear as ours, and that's an advantage for us. People with kids with autism, it can be hard because when these symptoms come up, it would be easy to write them off as an exacerbation of previously existing conditions. When I told people what happened to Parker, many of them asked me, is he autistic? I'm like, no, he's not autistic. He's never been autistic. He was 10 years old. But if you have a 5-year-old on your hands or a 2-year-old on your hands, how are you supposed to know? You don't have that much time on your belt in dealing with their personality. And you wind up with an hysterically distraught parent in a doctor's office saying, this is not my child, this is not my child. And the doctor goes, well, maybe they're just not accepting. Where is that line between previous existing conditions and this condition? And where do they meet? And if they meet at all? That's a tough call. It's a very tough call. But take the time to make sure that you know what you have in your hands so that you're working on qualified grounds to the very best of your ability. And I'll probably make another video about that in more detail for another day. Let's see. Last thing I want to talk about, supporting treatments. We have done, top of my head, I didn't make a list, gluten-free diets. We replaced all the plastic storage bowls with glass storage bowls in case little plastic amoebas were leaching into his lunch food and causing problems. We eliminated dairy. We went back to dairy. We did camel's milk, which cost a fortune. And thankfully, we have had the means to go seek it out. I had to drive over 3 towns to go find a quart, which was like, I don't know, it was an insane amount. It's like $20 or something for a quart. And then he didn't want to have it because he was flaring at the time, so I'd sneak it in his other milk and try and give it to him that way and get it to him. because some people recommended it and it would make a difference. We're happy to do it. We've done homeopathic things. You put little droplets in their water and whatever. We have left no stone unturned to give him every opportunity we can. Not to say you have to do that, but I'm just letting you know that I'm not opposed to it. Having said that, it's really important that you don't ignore what the treatment recommendation is in exchange for these minor supporting treatments. Some people have kids that are sick for years, and I've talked to them, and all they've done are minor supporting treatments, and they're convinced that that's supposed to kick in and work because they're afraid of the big treatments. They're afraid of IVIG. They're afraid of rituximab. Some are even afraid of putting their kids on long-term antibiotics, and the kid sits in suffrage for it. Not good. Not good. My heart breaks. Scattered train of thought. Getting back to my story about the mother that called in and didn't know what to do, and the insurance company said no, and I told her to go in the bathroom and wash her face and put on a good lipstick and say that she can. A year later, she sent Natalie and I a message and said, you know what? I did what you said. I appealed the no determination from the insurance company. And after several appeals, they said yes. And my daughter got her 1 round of IVIG. Her symptoms completely disappeared. We are in a new day. And I want to thank you for setting me straight. Wow. So moving. I was, still am. I'm a leaker. It's so moving to see that. And that's why you just never stop. You just never stop. You have to keep reaching for what's next. And we still have this conversation today with Parker, with his course of therapy. Is this the best thing to give him the best option? Is this going to take him as far as he can get? Is there something else we should be pursuing, adding, or taking away? This is artwork. And I hope you take it as an artistic approach and that your team does as well. So, flowchart from PANDAS Physicians Network. Thank you very much. Determining a mild, moderate, or severe case. Mild cases, symptoms are significant and cause disruptions at home or at school. They occupy a few hours a day. We started like this. Most of them flew under the radar. Parker, being a cool hand Luke kind of guy, he tended to hide it as much as he could. He knew something was wrong, but he didn't want to make a fuss. And he just sort of compensated until it became more moderate, where he couldn't hide it anymore. So symptoms are distressing and interfere with daily activities. In the moderate stage, they occupy 50 to 70% of waking hours. This is where the wheels start to come off. And then in the course of a month, probably we went from moderate to severe or extreme, where symptoms are incapacitating, life-threatening, or occupying 71 to 100% of waking hours. Not every kid is going to be in this extreme category. Most, thankfully, are not. I don't know what the percentage is that wind up in this category, but that's my experience. I know I got a message or saw a post maybe on one of the Facebook pages from a parent, I think it was a mom, who was wringing her hands because she wasn't sure if she should give her kids the IVIG that they got approved for, because it might interrupt football practice. And at the time, my kid was just literally screaming in a ball in the corner. Just out of his mind, completely non-functional. And I thought, and I couldn't get approval for IVIG. This was in the early days before we even got approval. And I thought, God, if I only had a kid who my biggest concern was skipping football practice and I could get coverage for IVIG. Holy smokes. That just shows the range that this can present in. From something mild when it interrupts you, brief disruptions at home and school, but you're still going to football practice, to completely non-functional, not in school, won't eat, spends all day in a corner screaming, and everything in between. So anyways, I hope that's helpful. I hope that answers some questions and give you some resources. Please take the time to read these connections that I provided and that have been provided by PANDAS physicians that have put this together. The PANDAS network is also available. It's also an organization called PRAI, P-R-A-I. Oh, and I'm going to muff what that stands for if I guess. There it is, Pediatric Research and Advocacy Initiative. And some other organizations as well. If there's another one I'm not aware of, please put it in the comment down below. Add your 2 cents. What has been most helpful for you in advancing your kid to their best outcome? And I know that this subject here opens up a can of worms. There are, how do I get insurance coverage? How do I fight an insurance denial? How do I find a proper doctor? Everything about this disease is a trial. Everything. How do I treat my kid? How do I take care of my kid? Who cares for my kid? How do I make a living and take care of my kid? Where do I take them for treatment? What if they say no? What if they only go from A to B, that we don't do C, D, and E? List goes on and on and on. Each one of those I could probably make a video on, and my intention is to do that in the course of time. Quite honestly, doing this a little nerve-wracking, and it takes me a couple days of work to screw up the courage to do it. But I hope it's a benefit. I got good feedback from the first one, so here's number 2, and I hope that's a blessing to you all. Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe. I hope to apply more later, and God bless everyone. Bye-bye.